every person looking for transiting to data engineering roles always have this question in mind, that what kind of roles that person can target, right? So this video is for that. Hi, I am Pankaj. I created this video to understand what are top 3 roles which you should target at the beginner level right from the start. So see on my screen. So here you can see in this mind map, there are top 3 data engineering roles at the beginner level you should target to, right? The first one in this list is data analyst. So what does data analyst do, right? What exactly the job function of data analyst is, how to view this role, right? It's very important to understand. So let's see one by one. So let me just go through one by one and tell you what exactly the primary job of this role is, right? What, to whom this role work with, right? What is the future scope in this role, right? So I hope it clarifies at the end of this video that if you are targeting for data analyst role, so what a recruiter will look into you, even if you are beginning. So what you should target, right? So first of all, this data analyst role encompass lot of wide role. It's not clearly defined role, so it has lot of roles within it, right? So initially, you mostly landed, if you are targeting data engineering's role in the field of data, right? So data engineering roles covers all these 3, and if you landed in at the beginner level, so the most probable chances that you will land into this role, that is data analyst, and it encompasses lot of roles, right? So what is the primary job functions of this data analyst role? So let's see that. Access data. So there are, so in data engineering, your work is to work with data, right? So to access data, clean the data, right? Extract and analyze the data, right? Accessing first from the data source, cleaning that data, and extracting some information and analyzing that data. So that's the job role of data analyst, right? So meanwhile, in this in this role, he will be working with various departments, right? So for a a meaningful, getting a meaningful insight from data, right? So that data must be traveling from different job departments, right? So like in case of when you are buying something from Amazon, right? So if you are buying something from Amazon, so what do you think a customer who is buying a data from Amazon, buying a product from Amazon, so this data travels with the various job functions, right? So you start from selecting the product, then doing the payment, right? Reviewing that product, right? Delivery of that product. So that is one piece of data related to one customer is traveling through all these departments, right? So in data analyst role, to understand the data very clearly, you might be working with various departments, right? Second thing, various executives of those departments, right? So there must be some point of maybe some point of contact there. Either you will be interacting with whole of the department, right? Or you will be interacting with the one point of contact of that department, but you will be communicating, right? So that's the focus area. Now, what is the focus, your future scope? So what is the future scope of data analyst? That depends upon the focus of the person working in this role. So if the focus is, right, if the focus is cloud, DevOps, and Python, right? So in that case, you will land up into the next level, that is data engineering. But if your focus is on machine learning, how the models are being deployed, how statistical analysis of data is to be done, and get a model created solving the business problem. So your thinking is developing on that side, where you are focusing on developing different models. Then you will land up to the machine engineering roles, and that is a data scientist role near future, when you gain the experience, domain expertise, business expertise, right? So start from data analyst, work on different aspects, and check out your focus where you are enjoying your work, right? So if you are enjoying deploying the models, if you are enjoying to set up the pipelines for DevOps, if you are enjoying some sort of script you are writing, then you probably landing up going to the data engineering role. But if you are focusing on statistical analysis, inferences from data, right, and then putting it in the form of a model, and your thinking is moving towards in this direction, that then you are moving towards data scientist role. No role is less or upper, it's all depends upon your choice and focus, right? The second thing is data engineering. So next is, if you opted for this cloud DevOps and some sort of programming understanding, then you will end up with this, going to this role, data engineering. So in data engineering, what does it mean? So we need to understand an engineering role within data science. So data science is basically getting a business solution from data, right? So that it is actually helping your business to grow. And if you are doing some engineering stuff in that, in whole of this process, then you are a data engineer, right? And what this data engineer is responsible for, it is responsible for technical infrastructure of data platforms, right? So I'll explain it a little later in this video itself, that what does it mean. But you can think of it as a developing infrastructure for your data sources, infrastructure for transformation, infrastructure for uh, infrastructure for collecting that data, which is must required by data scientists to perform statistical analysis on it, right? Now next is functions of data infrastructure. So what does, if you have as a data engineer set up infrastructure, infrastructure, right? So what are the functions of that data infrastructure? That is extracting data, right? So extracting data for further analysis, right? Storing that data, transition of that data in one form to another form, right? To make it more understandable, right? And transformation of it. Sometimes one piece of data or one set of data needs to be transformed into some other form, right? So that all these work is being is carried out in this role, data engineering role, data engineer role, right? And these are the functions of the data infrastructure which you are setting up, right, for this overall data engineering. Now there are three important roles within this data engineer role, that is general role, warehouse centric, and pipeline centric. Now if you talk about general role, then it is configuring data sources. So what can be the data source? ERP can be one of the data source, right? So there are multiple data source. News feeds can be a data source, and there are a lot of data sources. I'll talk about that in this video, right? And integrating the analytical tool in that. So when I say integrating analytical tool, means how that data is performing, right? That there are any performance glitches in that, right? So analytics about that data, right? So how much volume of data is being collected for last from last cycle, right? Where was the deadlock? And all these are analytical sort of things which the data engineer in the general role of data, as a data engineer you are performing, right? Then warehouse centric, very important, setting up the SQL. Historically, the meaning of this is when you are saying you are in data centric data engineering role, means you are setting up SQL databases to connect to to construct data sources, your data sources. I'll talk about what are those data sources. As one example, I've given ERP, right? So for those data sources, means you are constructing the data sources and you are using SQL in that, right? Now next is pipeline centric. Pipeline centric means, let's understand it. Pipeline centric means data integration tools to connect data sources to data warehouse. So you have a lot of sources, right? And ultimately you are connecting all your sources with the data warehouse, where your historical data in form of dimension is there, right? So use data is there in data warehouse, right? But to integrate your data sources with this warehouse where you have put in a lot of things, right? So you need some tools. So that tools also, that the infrastructure for this, all infrastructure is being taken care by data engineers, right? So it's a big role, right? So it is one of the role in data engineering. So first we talked about data analyst, second we talked about data engineer, and third is the role which we usually, this is very buzzy right now, right? So that is data scientist. Before moving to the next role, that is data science role, let's understand the data engineering completely. So what are the data sources, and what are the connection I was talking about, connecting with data sources to the warehouse, right? And what all things the data warehouse contains, right? So that it can give you a very clear understanding about that data engineer role, right? So as I'm saying, it is very important role, because all of your success and failure is depend upon this complete infrastructure development of data, right? So let's understand it. This is the data warehouse architecture. You can say that these are the data sources which I was talking about. So one of that is ERP, CRM, customer relationship management database is itself a big data source, right? Lot of internal data sources, right? Data source of database of a department, right? Database of a functional unit, database of lot of internal databases is also a source of data, right? External sources, your application or your solutions are connected with the other third party sources, right? So and you are collecting some data from that, so that is also a kind of data source you have. So you have a lot of data sources, right? And then in between, before moving this all data which you are collecting through ERP, CRM databases and the external sources, you are collecting all this data and placing that data into your warehouse. So for that, the transformation is required sometime. So for that, ETL tools are required, right? So these are the tools which I was talking about, to transform the data of the data sources into the form which is required to you in your data warehouse, right? So these is the data warehouse where we can have structured data, right? As I already told, relational data, right? SQL through SQL you can connect and interact with that data, right? Semi-structured data, some form is structured and some form is in form of text or something else, right? You have there, right? Semi-structured, and even completely unstructured, where you have a lot of images, lot of things which are not related with a particular entity, or you cannot form the relationship between those data, right? The behavioral analysis, or you can say that the liking, disliking, comments, and the kind of network data and everything, right? So that you cannot make a relationship between the entities, right? Between those that data, right? So that unstructured data is also there, right? In form of voice, text, everything, it's unstructured data, right? So all these you kept in your data warehouse, right? And some information about some metadata about that data warehouse. So that's the infrastructure of the data warehouse, where this data warehouse means, you have a sales data mart, you have information about the sales, you have information about the marketing, you have information about the HR, you have information about the project management data, everything you have there in your data warehouse, right? So it's a huge bunch of source for you through which you are inferring some patterns, right? So that's how, that's how on top of this data, the other solutions like, the data science solutions are built on, right? So this pipeline and gathering this data needs to be, very, very, you can say that needs to be very, very mature in the company to provide the real solutions, real business solutions from, the latest technologies like data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, right? And a lot of data warehouse access tools are also there, right? So data mining tools are there, OLAP tools are there, application development tools are there, right? On top of this, to access the data warehouse data, right? So there are a lot of tools which are available. So all this set of data is the responsibility of data engineers to form that infrastructure for data sources, right? And then the tools, analytical tools within these data sources, right? How these data sources are performing and everything related to data sources, and then the tools which are required to transit this data from to these data sources to data warehouse, means connecting the data warehouse with the data sources. So this all comes under infrastructure, and that's the responsibility of data engineers. That's why I'm saying this very important role in a company. And now we move towards our next role in the field of data engineering, that is data science. So what they do. So let me know this. I want to, I want to clear this point. I want you to clear this point in your mind, that you cannot jump directly into data scientist role. You cannot if you are at beginner level, right? So you need to have some expertise which are must required to jump into this data scientist role. So that's why I explained all the roles which are, which are, which are actually giving this data scientist role a kind of back support, or you can say that support to move to this role, right? So you will be working on these sort of roles initially and gaining the experience, gaining the domain expertise as well, and you are understanding the complete pipeline of the data, right? So what is the source, from where it is coming, what is the definition of this data, right? What data needs to be picked, what is the business solution we have to we have to take care, right, to make the business progressive, right, and profitable, right? So you gain this experience through these roles, right, and you apply all of your wisdom in this role, data scientist. So what they do, very important role, and very high experienced people are required in this role, since they understand the business problems, they understand the business challenges, right, and they can discuss with the stakeholders. Stakeholders means directly the owner of the company, the decision maker, right? They convert the business problem to the data science problem. So let's suppose you are not getting good customer for your bank, right? So that's a business problem. But how to get good customer, will this customer will be good customer for your bank or not a good customer for your bank, that's a definition of problem in terms of data science. So you have to categorize, or you have to explain the business problem in terms of data science problem if you are a data scientist, right? So that your team can work on that. Use analytical and technical skills, right? So there are a lot of technical skills and analytical skills are required to become a data scientist, and must to have probing skills. Asking right question is the first skill, right? Must to have, right? Data cleaning. You collect the data from data sources, you have a lot of data, right? But that data is, very important for your business or not. That data will solve the purpose or not. So, and whether that data is correct or not. Sometimes you are, doing a lot of research on data that to discard that data itself. So this is not a good data. So we need a different data, right? So that kind of decision is being taken care by the data scientist and cleaning the data, right? So that is very important. Good in ED, exploratory data analysis. So the bivariate, multivariate analysis of the features, right? So all these are the very must have required skills within a data scientist, right? ML models, good understanding about the machine learning models, where to apply, which supervised algorithm needs to be applied, right? So hypervisor tuning, the hypervisor parameters tunings. This is how to do that, right? And what are the features which are not affecting your data? So discarding those features, right? So all about the machine learning models. You need to have very good understanding about it, and it should be a business contributor. That's why I'm saying, if you do not think in terms of business, and that comes with experience, that cannot come. You directly go in the company and say that, hey, from tomorrow onwards we should change this in this business, we should change in this way. Let's suppose you just driving a Pizza Hut chain of business in a zone, you can say, right? So you cannot say that, hey, we should change this 30-minute window to 40 minutes for delivery, right? So that doesn't work in this way. That decision needs to be backed with data, right? So you need to have a good understanding about the business as well, right? How it will impact, how your decision will impact, right? And the few of the skills which are essentially required, that is programming skills. You need to have good understanding of few stacks of programming. Even you should be a avid learner. Every time you need to learn new technologies, right? So I have mentioned few of them here, but it's not necessarily to be these only, right? Python, SQL, R, SAS, Hive, these are few technologies which are very popular in this area of working, right? Storytelling, very important. You need to be a good storyteller. So you have to present your case in front of stakeholders so that they can show trust on you, right? So you need to have a very good storytelling skill. You need to have maths skills, statistical skills, statistics skills, right? You need to have good understanding of machine learning, as I already explained, right? And this is written in bold, domain knowledge. So you should have a very good understanding of a domain for which you are developing business solution. Very good understanding of that domain. So that means that the underlying meaning of it is that you need to work on that domain for a good handsome amount of time, right? So that domain knowledge is required, whether it is finance, retail, any domain, energy, education, any domain you talk, you need to have a very good understanding about that domain, right? And business acumen, I already told, data scientist is just like a businessman. He understands that how to generate revenue for a company, right? So that should be in his head, so that he can propose those solutions to the business stakeholder with the help of his storytelling skill, right? So that's all about all these roles, top 3 roles which are there in data engineering role, right? And I hope this video clarifies all of your uh, doubts related to the roles which are there in the field of data engineering. And if you are targeting this for yourself in the coming future, then you must look on what are the essential skills required at the beginner level itself, right? Choose your career wisely and very precisely and develop your skills according to that. Thank you so much for watching this. I see you there in my next video. All the best.